Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Police stages stick out over unpaid overtime from 2018. Analysts react ahead of Senate meeting on SOE extension. Later in sports, Cricket West Indies and government of Jamaica in discussions for send-off game for Chris Gayle. I'm Shane Masters. Here are the details. Scores of rank-and-file members of a Jamaica Constabulary force, clad in red and black, have gathered outside the Supreme Court building in downtown Kingston ahead of the decision of the court on the payment of overtime. Some of the police officers have placards demanding payment. The protest has been organized by the Police Federation. The Police Federation filed a lawsuit in 2019 against the Ministries of Finance and National Security, the Attorney General and the Police Commissioner, complaining that its members have been working more than 40 hours per week without being paid. The Federation argued that this was in breach of a 2008 Heads of Agreement. Our reporter Jamila Maitland is on location and now joins us live.
Good afternoon, Asheen. Good afternoon, everyone. So we are still on the outside of the Supreme Court steps, and I can tell you that the chairman has actually just exited the courtroom. He's now giving an interview to the press. So I have another team who is there, and it's Kalisha, who's actually going to tell me some of the results that was due to the judgment. But I can tell you there are lots of police officers who are still out here. It's raining, but I can tell you they're not moving one bit. It's a very powerful statement right now on the Supreme Court steps. You have rank-and-file police officers who are here. There are police officers dressed in plainclothes, police officers who are dressed in their uniform, who are, they have placards in their hands. They are asking for the settlement to be reached. Earlier on, we saw some of the police officers handing out papers or documents to the officers. We're still trying to get our hands on this document to try to find out, what exactly was being said. And as I said earlier, the chairman, Corporal Rowan James, he just exited the steps of the courtroom and is granting some interviews right now to the media and trying to get a little clue to find out what exactly is he saying. But right now I can't. I'm not hearing anything right now. But as I said, he has just exited the steps, and we can only find out if a settlement was reached, if it is that they are going to be getting these monies for the overtime.
Thank you, Jamelia. Now, the Senate is currently debating the resolution to extend the states of emergency in 7 police divisions. The House of Representatives on Tuesday voted to extend the anti-crime measure until February 12, but analysts reacted ahead of the Senate meeting. The Senate is today debating the resolution to extend the states of emergency in 7 police divisions. This after the government used its majority in the lower house to pass the resolution on Tuesday. But there are concerns that the crime measure is not effective. Political commentator Kevin O'Brien Chang says that's not so. He pointed to the crime figures for 2010 and 2018.
The only time murder has fallen significantly in the last 32 years is the 2010 SOE and the 2018 SOE. The facts are there if anybody wants to look at them. I'm not a crime expert, but I do know the commissioner and all those people are experts, and if they call for it, they must have good reasons, and obviously the reasons are good ones, and they can have gone into it in much detail.
The opposition People's National Party, however, has not supported the measure, saying it is unconstitutional. Attorney at law Kenyatta Powell says holding to that position could bring harm to the PNP on the political front.
The government and as I said, commentators like Mr. O'Brien Chang have been very good at propagandizing the people about SOEs. And about how the SOEs are are a magic bullet and it's our saving grace, etc. So as far as the raw sort of partisan politics is concerned, if they stand on principle, this is the PNP, and stand against it, it will hurt them.
As to what should be done today by the opposition senators, again, differing views.
If I'm a political party. And I say for 10 years straight, 71% of people want something. Am I going to go with the 71% or 29%? If the PNP wants to commit political suicide, let them go ahead.
There are two schools of thought about it. One school of thought, which I'm a senior lawyer than myself, in the form of Gordon Robinson, has put forward. Gordon Robinson says, look, this is clearly a political ploy by the government, and they've set a trap for the PNP, and that the PNP shouldn't walk headlong into the trap. I fall on a different side. I say, look, I have serious reservations about, one, the utility of the SOEs, and two, the rights violations and deprivations that will happen under the SOEs.
Both men were speaking on the morning agenda on PAHO 106. COVID-19 continues to take lives across Jamaica. This as 2 more people have died from the virus. An 87-year-old woman from Trelawney and a 69-year-old woman from the corporate area are the latest victims. The death toll has now increased to 2,367. 2 deaths are under investigation. Meanwhile, 56 new cases of the coronavirus were reported in the last 24 hours from 807 samples. The overall case count now stands at 90,961. The positivity rate is 7.6%. The Ministry of Health has reported that on Wednesday, 174 people were hospitalized with the virus. 8 patients are in critical condition and 20 patients are severely ill. There have been 817 active cases on the island in the last 2 weeks. 103 people have recovered from the respiratory illness in the last 24 hours. The country's overall recovery count is 62,171. The Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, is calling for greater effort in the region to end gender-based violence. PAHO's director, Dr. Carissa Etienne, made the call at a virtual media briefing yesterday. Dr. Etienne said a significant number of girls and women have fallen victims to violence.
An alarming number of women and girls, 1 in 3, have experienced physical and/or sexual violence in their lifetime, mostly by an intimate partner. The COVID-19 pandemic has introduced new risks.
She believes greater accessibility to health centers can help to reduce gender-based violence in the region.
Now more than ever, we must act together. PAHO has been working diligently to build capacity in countries to strengthen evidence and promote a culture of zero tolerance for violence. We know that when health services are accessible to all survivors of violence, with health workers able to identify those at risk early and provide them with needed support, we make a huge difference in the lives and health of women and girls everywhere.
Yesterday marked the start of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. The campaign is a time to stimulate action to end violence against women and girls around the world. This year, the theme is Orange the World, End Violence Against Women Now, which is expected to draw attention to the urgency for action. The international campaign originated from the institute coordinated by the Center for Women's Global Leadership in 1991. And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. The prosecution in the Wandon gang trial yesterday restructured its approach to having 2 transcripts admitted into evidence. The prosecution told the court that it will be calling 4 police officers to establish a chain of custody for a compact disc, which contains recorded conversations between alleged members of a criminal network. Among the 4 was a cop who, the main witness testified, was handed 2 illegal firearms which belonged to the Wandon gang. Raquel Porter has the details.
In his testimony on Wednesday, the police said he was introduced to the former Don-turned-state witness on November 24, 2018. He recalled that on their first encounter, they spoke for 5 hours about the criminal network. He also said the witness volunteered to give a statement. The court heard the police began recording the witness's statement the following day. This, he said, lasted 5 to 6 hours per day until the statement was completed. The policeman also testified that he interacted with the main witness more than 30 times. He said the prosecution's second witness brought him to a number of communities in Spanish Town, St. Catherine, and pointed out to him where victims were killed. He said the witness also pointed out the burial site of the two men from Denham Town. Early in the trial, the main witness told the court that he handed over 3 cellular phones containing recorded conversations with the alleged gang members to the police. But the prosecution encountered a roadblock yesterday after their attempt to enter into evidence 2 transcripts was denied. This, as defense attorneys questioned the safekeeping and integrity of the CD containing the recordings. The trial continues Thursday. Raquel Porter, TVJ News.
There's a call for state agencies to do better at monitoring and clamping down on development disorder across the capital. This comes from attorney-at-law Gavin Goff, who won a case against the state last year and is currently before the courts with several others.
So it's really not an effective system. What we really need to have is for the authorities to actually be monitoring the developments as they're going up, because it's not enough to grant approval. You also now need to ensure that the developers and the owners of these properties are building in accordance with the approval.
There have been concerns from stakeholders about housing developments across the capital being built in breach of what was approved.
So you'll have an approval for a 1-bedroom unit. It's then being converted to a 2-bedroom unit afterwards. And the KSAMC is aware of it, but they are not really doing anything about it, because it's quite obvious that these properties are going up and are being marketed in a particular fashion. And that marketing is inconsistent with the approvals that the authorities have granted.
And it's now time for the Business Minute. Here's Cody and Barrett.
In the world of business, the Banana Board is looking to produce more plantains to meet market demand and increase earnings from the crop. General Manager of the Banana Board, Janet Connie, revealed that preparatory work is underway to establish protocols to improve and formalize cultivation of the crop to supply local, regional, and international markets. The initiative forms part of the plantain pilot project, which aims to establish 10 hectares of irrigated plantain. And in business internationally, India is set to go ahead with its plan to ban most cryptocurrencies in the country under a long-awaited bill. Expectations had grown in recent months that the government may soften its view on digital currencies. The ban would relate to all private cryptocurrencies, with certain exceptions to allow the promotion of the underlying technology and its uses. Cryptocurrency prices dropped on Indian exchanges after the decision on the bill's future was announced. And that's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And it's now time for the top regional and international stories with Sandy Williams.
In regional news, with Europe seeing record spikes in COVID-19 infections and cases rising by 23% in the Americas over the past week, the Pan American Health Organization PAHO has advised caution on lifting preventative measures and warned against complacency in tackling the pandemic. In a virtual media briefing on Wednesday, Director at PAHO, Dr. Carissa Etienne, urged Caribbean nations to keep gatherings small and ensure mask wearing and social distancing, especially indoors. Dr. Etienne said the relaxation of public health measures combined with pockets of unvaccinated people have created the perfect environment for the virus to spread. On the international scene, the family of Ahmaud Arbery has reacted with joy and relief after 3 white men were found guilty of charges relating to the 25-year-old black man's murder.
I feel real good. It's just, it won't bring Ahmaud back, but we do know those guys be count for the lynching that they done to him. So that's what my family, we are grateful for.
I was overwhelmed with joy because we finally got justice for Ahmaud. The word guilty was the word that I wanted to hear 18 months ago, and we finally got that word of guilty.
With the top regional and international stories, I'm Sandy Williams.
And we head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your Midday Sports Report. Simon Preston is here.
Welcome back. It's now time for Midday Sports. I'm Simon Preston. CEO of Cricket West Indies, Johnny Grave, has confirmed that he is in dialogue with the Jamaican government over staging a send-off game for Jamaican hard-hitting batsman Chris Gayle. Ireland's tour of the Caribbean in January comprises 3 ODIs, and the hope is to have 1 T20 international in Jamaica, which would be Gayle's final game for the Caribbean side. Grave confirmed this on the Mason and Guest show in Barbados recently.
3 ODIs against Ireland in the second week of January, and then 1 T20 at Savannah Park. And yeah, I think that would be, hopefully, if fans are allowed into Savannah, a good opportunity for us to say farewell to Chris at his home ground. Yeah. No, we're still talking to the government of Jamaica around the protocols and the ability to play the series there. But again, I'd hope within the next few days that we can confirm that series, 1 taking place and 2 being held in Jamaica.
The West Indies lost to Sri Lanka by 187 runs on the 5th and final day of the first test in Galle on Thursday. The Caribbean side, who began the day on a 52 for 6, chasing a target of 348 for victory, were bowled out for 160. And Nkrumah top scored with 68 not out, while Joshua Da Silva added 54 as they shared in a 100-run 7th wicket partnership. Lasith Mbuldenia was the pick of the bowlers for the home side with 5 for 46 in the second innings. West Indian wicketkeeper batsman Joshua Da Silva gave credit to the Sri Lankan spinners.
You know, we can't really fault the boys. Everybody goes out there to do their best. Nobody gets out on purpose. But we played a bit in front, maybe at times, not all the time, but just a bit at times. Especially in the first inning. In the second inning was a bit tough. It was a period there where Sri Lanka were on top, and we just needed to capitalize and just fight. That's a keyword: fight and try our best.
The second test bowls off on Sunday evening at Jamaica time. And finally this afternoon, Reggae Boys forward Mikel Antonio will be absent from West Ham United's UEFA Europa League clash against Austrian club Rapid Wien this afternoon. West Ham United manager David Moyes says the 31-year-old will be rested ahead of their trip to Manchester City this weekend. West Ham are currently at the top of Group H of the Europa League on 10 points. Kickoff is at 12:45. At 3 o'clock, Reggae Boy Kemar Roof and Rangers will be looking to go 3 games unbeaten in the Europa League as they host Sparta Prague. Rangers are third in Group A on 4 points. And that is it for your Midday Sports Report. I'm Simon Preston. Ashane, it is over to you.
Thanks, Simon. But before we go, Simon, what do you think about the send-off game for Chris Gayle?
I believe it's fitting, especially with the 2 decades that he had in the sport and representing the Maroon side. He certainly deserves this. 2 World Cups to his name, an ICC Champions Trophy, one of the greatest to ever pick up the bat. He certainly deserves it for sure.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Simon. And that's it for the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for primetime news. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.